Hello everyone and welcome to a test run of a new video series here on YouTube. So yeah, I've always liked card games. I started playing card games back in the days of like Pokemon. Pokemon was like the first card game I ever got into, and let me point out one thing. I'm more of a collector than I am a player, and that will kind of show off in basically how little I have kind of played Hearthstone in the last 2 years. And I'm sure Baku has nothing to do with the more recent months. But anyway, welcome everyone. Welcome to a series that I don't actually have a name yet for. I kind of want this video series to be just a playing card games, relaxing, maybe chatting a little bit about what life is like here as kind of a daily thing. But really, this video series is not meant to be overly, hyperly competitive. I do not care about the legend rank in Hearthstone. I am not a professional Hearthstone player. But I do enjoy playing Hearthstone, and I do enjoy collectible card games. As I said, I played Pokemon back in the day, and I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of got a little bit silly in more recent years, at least it feels like. But I do still have love for some of the older, the good old days. But yeah, talking about Hearthstone, Hearthstone is a game that I think has a lot of polish to it, and despite what a lot of people have had for complaints, it's one of the best card games to just get into and play, and that is something I really like about it. So, as I have said, I am not I play Hearthstone fairly irregularly, and I have spent money, a fair bit of money, because I enjoy having all the cards, and I enjoy having golden cards too. So that is something that I have done, and I'm okay with that. But yeah, as you can see, I have not even gotten a level 60 in a character class. I've only have about 1,300 wins in play mode, so not that great, and I've never really played that arena that much. I just like to play or get in every once in a while, play a few casual matches where it's definitely, pretty easy, but hey, it's a new month on ladder, and I gotta earn that card back, because card backs are fun to earn. But to start off, I wanted to do a deck, because right now that there seems to be a lot of decks that are viable in the meta, and I want to try making my own one that I think has not really seen much discussion about. I'm not entirely sure. I've kept a little bit on it. Obviously, Rogue is really popular right now. I think Druid is fairly popular. Warrior is super popular. And Mage. So there's a lot of good stuff out there. But if we wanted to play, really hyper competitively, I'd probably just do my Mage deck, which has been really solid right now, given a lot of the other classes, but I want to try this. Shaman is my favorite class in all of Hearthstone. I just really love it for a lot of reasons. And so I've basically tried to craft what is a BattleCry deck, because currently one of my favorite cards in, now that it's not just completely broken anymore, is Shutterwalk, which has this really neat thing of just replaying all minions battle cries that you've done in an entire match. And here we have, a potential for basically building this really cool deck. So yeah, this deck, right now, Hearthstone feels like a game that is mostly about value now that a lot of the aggro stuff has kind of gone down a little bit. Obviously, there's still aggro out there, but it doesn't feel quite as much. And so this is the first iteration, basically, of this deck. I played one version of this deck when it came out, when the new expansion came out, but I just haven't had a ton of time to really go at it. But really, this is all kind of just a hand shaman, where it's like building up a giant hand, and then you can get a ton of value out of things like Twilight Drakes, as well as Violet Spell Swords, which are based on what you have in your hand at the time. Also things like Dragon Maw Scorcher for clearing the board, Crowd Roasters, which are really good for not killing your own Zilliat, or your own Shutterwalk, as it can only target things on the enemy side of the board. Giggling Inventor for protecting it, and, Swamp Queen for infinite value kind of thing. So I feel like this is a pretty good deck. It feels a little more tempo-y in theory, but yeah. Haven't really played a ton of it, but this is the first deck I wanted to kind of try today. Oh. OCD levels. One other thing we gotta do real quickly. Normally I like the ice, but I think I want that one. I really like the green. Green is like my favorite color. So yeah, we're gonna take this into ladder. New month, rank 20, hype, where you can potentially get away with some of this. So let's switch over to the other screen and just give it a shot. I mean, right now on the ladder too, there's like Control Shaman, and there is what else? There is Control Shaman as well as Murloc Shaman. So, all right, this should be interesting. Alright, well, I think we want to keep Hagatha, because Hagatha is a good board clear if we make it to turn 8. Violet Spellsword isn't really super good for us, but Menacing Nimbus as well as Nightmare Amalgamation are pretty good, so we'll keep most of our hand. Crowd Roaster, potentially good. Ooh, that's kind of nice. That kind of changes my plan a little bit. Hey, infinite value. We potentially have a really good turn going into next turn since we have Earth and Might. Well, we have some choices here. I mean, we don't have to commit to this. We could, in theory, just play a totem and get moving on. On the other hand, like, Pyromancer is a pretty high-quality card here, and we might be okay just doing this anyway. I mean, it's higher value for him, but kind of want to get it. Alright, we got another elemental. Pyromancer is a hugely valuable card for Paladin. Alright, so this is probably a heal, which means he's probably going for late game. We can also just like flat trade this out here, and we're pretty good shape. So as you can see, we're already starting to build up a pretty nice hand size, which is basically what we want. I mean, we're not in theory also in super high value mode. I feel like it's way more dangerous. Alright, so Violet Spellsword we definitely want to keep till later. We just kind of want to keep the board clear against Paladin, I think. That's about it. Ooh, Alakir is a good pickup. That will give us a lot of potential late game power. And the healing totem will keep our guys nice and healthy. Totems are basically a good way of just building the board without having to overly commit to it, because a paladin can have a way of clearing us, which is a little scary. Okay, alright, so I guess he really wants to get... I mean, this paladin is very clearly trying to draw out. Next turn, we could be in some danger of maybe getting cleared. So it might be a good idea to not go too wide on the board as well. Because if we go 4 wide, then we could get mind control tech, which does feel like a possibility here. The Loa does speak to me. I mean, he can't just consecrate us, so feels okay. Also, not being on camera means that I'm allowed to drink off screen and not make anybody really angry.
Reporting for duty.
Alright, so this seems to be a buff, maybe Shravala. Okay, so we got our Hagatha scheme. We're 1 turn away from being able to do...
It is not my time.
I'm not overly scared of him. Even if he does buff the following turn, we have a potential clear with the Crowd Roaster. So I think we just sit back, relax, let our Hagatha scheme build. Plus we have Hagatha, which means that we can really start getting value out of our hand very quickly. Yep, as I thought. So he's going to overcommit into that 1 minion here. Okay, that sucks a little bit, but it's also not terribly bad. Because again, oh, do we want to make him think we just top decked it? Yeah, I think we do. So yeah, we basically used 2 cards there to take care of one of his cards, or a card that he had sunk, or one of his tokens that he had sunk a lot of stuff into, so it feels fine. I kind of want to get him to really scared here. The question is, do I want to go for spells at this point? I could go for Hagatha too. I think we just want to pressure him a little bit. We have Hagatha's scheme in hand too, plus we're actually healing what little damage we're doing, so if he has to spend multiple cards to get rid of this entire board, it is not that scary to us. Okay. Oh, that's a good combo card for us. So we can actually do just a... We don't really need to go super fast at this point. I'm not overly familiar with this class. We don't really want to play too much into maybe an equality or consecration. I think we're just going to play out the Giggling Inventor. And also make a mind control tech pretty darn bad. So this seems to be a spell paladin, which is definitely not a class I have ran into. Okay, super high healing power. Whoa!
How can this be?
It's time to test your metal.
Alright, okay, so we got interesting stuff going on here. So yeah, he's got a lot of HP, but I'm not entirely sure what his plan is at this point.
Dark spirits twist the trees, foul the lake, and curse this land. Job done. I must decide.
Alright, that's actually, in theory, pretty good, because that card will allow us to get more value out of our deck. So now we switch to... Okay. So this is just a heal paladin, I guess. Although there are some scary things coming up. Alright, that's another, in theory, good card. Let's see how much we have in our hand. We have quite a bit. We could overdraw here, which is a little scary. That's a pretty good card to throw on our Alakir. Basically now, if Alakir dies, we actually get a second one. So he's been holding on to one card since the beginning of this, which is maybe a little scary. Well, that's a good card for us. Oh, that gives us actually a little bit of options here. We could go like that. Just freeze him. Kill that, which is one of his big... And what are we at? We're at 8 cards? We throw out one. We throw out the spell, we get a double of something. That puts us at 9. Alright, that's a pretty good turn. So yeah, we're just taking it easy here, going through. He's having to use up his entire weapon here to get rid of one of our guys, which is pretty good. Alright, so we are at 10 cards, so we have to spend a spell. I think we can still get more value out of that.
Dash fails. Try fisrt.
Ooh, that would have been actually good. Oh well.
My curse on you!
And we're at 9 cards for now. Really want to. We haven't drawn our Shutterwalk, so we don't want to throw anything out too much. Meanwhile, our Hagathis schemes are basically infinity heals. Okay.
Loa, hear my call.
Okay, so that's kind of his thing here.
Like sweating insects!
Hmm. Huh. I'm not quite sure how I want to handle this. Obviously, his big thing is trying to get this super big, but it doesn't feel like he can. Alright, so all of his armor that he started the game with is gone. He has an empty board, which is pretty good. Fatigue-wise, he is way deeper in fatigue than we are, so he needs an end game, basically, here. And he's already spent a lot of his stuff. And he's still spending a lot of his stuff. Those twin spells I just don't think do anything for him.
Reporting for duty.
So that might be his Adventures Prelate again, which kind of sucks, but that's kind of his thing that he's relying on.
Hear my call.
Well, the obvious thing that needs to do is that needs to die right away. If we get a silence effect, we could, in theory, kill him.
Dimly lit.
I see a vision in the flames.
None of these are particularly exciting. This one because it's pretty low cost.
I see a vision in the flames.
There we are. Almost messed that up. Now that's dead. So that was one of his major cards that we just killed. And we made room in our hand, too, for more stuff. Shrink Ray, that's fine, because since we have Big Bad Voodoo on our guy, we're actually going to get a 9-cost minion out of this. Woo! Hello, Malagos.
Loa, hear my call.
You know, it's just not that big of a... I'm not that worried about it.
In swamp and city, two witches brew.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Hands full, but that's okay. I'm actually kind of okay just burning something at this point.
Prophecy. Prophecy.
Unless we get a 0 cost, but I actually want to keep a dragon in my hand. Oh, we have a dragon. Never mind. Down it goes. So many reigns of toads. So long as we don't burn Shutterwalk, and even then it's not that big of a deal at this point. Equality. Consecration? Okay.
Reporting for duty.
So, I think we'll do this in this order too.
The pen is mightier with the sword.
I'm almost out of cards.
You are almost out of cards. So as you can see, we've kept this game pretty well in
Loa, hear my call.
Loa, hear her call.
Reporting for
So
duty.
this is a pretty easy turn. Even if he does have a clear, we still have a fair amount of cards in our hand. And we have our Shutterwalk, which is basically infinite value. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hit there. We're going to hit the face, hit the face, hit the face. You know what? We'll just we'll take another turn.
I'm almost out of cards.
We have our Shutterwalk now. We are really not scared of anything anymore. This is the one problem I have with this, is it's really easy to keep a full amount of cards in your hand.
Loa, hear my call.
Alright, this is going to be a fun turn. Because with that second equality gone, there's essentially nothing. I wonder what will burn, though. Twilight Drake? No problem.
Spell and fury.
Time's up. Let's do this.
Okay, alright. Pretty good turn.
Almost out of cards.
Your turn.
Loa, hear my call.
Loa, hear that call. We also...
Reporting for duty.
Well played.
The victory is yours.
Easy peasy. It is a very strong deck that synergizes well with itself. So just to go back really quickly before I end part 1. The deck deals with a lot of different problems currently on ladder. The only problem that I have with this deck is it is so easy to fill your hand up. Which works well, but also, as you can see, can burn cards late game. The Acidic Swamp Ooze is there to kill any weapons that we might go against, which is really important for Rogue right now. The Crystallizer is just a one-turn drop, basically, so we don't get super behind on board, potentially. Fire Tree Witch Doctor is great, so long as we have a dragon in our hand, and we have a fair number of dragons in our deck. Not only that, Nightmare Amalgamation not only counts as a early game elemental, but also a early game dragon. But either way, it is potentially just fantastic for us. Haunting Vision gives us a way also of an out. I had a hard time fitting Lightning Storm into this deck, and I just don't like Lightning Storm all that much, but Haunting Vision basically can find you Lightning Storm if you need it, so it's potentially still good. Omega Mind in the late game can just be a really big heal, especially combined with Hagatha's scheme. In theory, you could also throw Omega Mind out early. It's not overly important, but it's still good. Witch's Brew is just there if we need the heals. Zentimo is for getting extra value out of Hex. One of the scariest decks to go up against on ladder currently is, I feel, Mage, Summoner Mage. Because Summoner Mage can just summon a massive amount of big stuff. So just to quickly show for people who don't know, Summoner Mage works on really high cost minions and only 2 spells, one of which is Conjurer's Calling, which destroys a minion and summons 2 minions of the same cost to replace it. So by getting a big hand, it can get out really powerful minions that it can then destroy. And since there aren't really any 12 cost minions, you basically either get Mountain Giants or things with Taunt and high stats. So that is the most incredibly scary thing. But the BattleCry Shaman not only has just Hex in case it gets one of its Mountain Giants down early, it also has Zentimo. So on turn 7 or with turn 6 and coin, you can Zentimo out and just basically Hex 3 targets for the cost of 1. Hex spell, which is really valuable. It's not perfect. Obviously, if a mage gets its cards down really early, there almost is nothing you can do against it. But at least it has an option, a potential option for dealing with that. Proud Defender is there for the aggro decks. If you have nothing else out, you're behind on board. 4-6 with Taunt is definitely not bad for getting you back in the game. Twilight Drake, again, so the idea with the Twilight Drakes and the Violet spell swords are better late game, but I found people are really scared of this thing. Even if it has a, like, gets up to 3 or 4 attack, people are really scared of this. So they will try to deal with it quickly by throwing their resources out. But either way, I don't overly care if these get hit by silence effects or get killed or anything like that, because their battle cries work later with Shutterwalk, which by the end of the Shutterwalk game, we're basically guaranteed to have a hand that is 10 or bigger, which means that, it will get a health bonus as well as a attack bonus on our Shutterwalk, making our Shutterwalk potentially huge. Combine that with Giggling Inventor, which summons some taunts, which are hard to get through. Shutterwalk is pretty well protected from anything except Hex. And if it eats a Hex, it's okay because Shutterwalk generates so much resources for us. Even if we were like down to almost no cards in our hand, Shutterwalk repeating basically everything that we've done the entire game would add a ton more resources to our hand. Ziliax is just the best card in Hearthstone, so it's good for heals and whatnot. Hagatha's scheme, we obviously want this earlier, and Dragonmaw Scorch is just there both for clears, but Hagatha's scheme combos. With Omega Mind late game, if you're super low on health, Omega Mind at 10 mana plus Hagatha's scheme, heal for 1 trillion. And then Hagatha, as you've seen, both Hagathas are just great resource generation. I love Swamp Queen Hagatha because, again, as you can see, you get that Stormbringer and everything's really good. But Hagatha is also really good for potentially comboing us late game. For anybody who knows Hearthstone right now, for the late game cards, something that people may ask about is why not Archivist Elysiana if you're going so late? One, this deck for Shaman doesn't require really any draw whatsoever. The only draw I've considered putting into this deck was Harrison Jones because there are a lot of low durability weapons currently. Archivist Elysiana is a really good card. Why do I have 2 copies of you? Goodbye. But one of the things in the 1 mana drop is Blazing Invocation, which can be gotten off of Hagatha's hero power, which basically means that you can get from Blazing Invocation, if you really needed to, you can get Archivist Elysiana. So I don't feel like it is super important if you were to go that late game. But if the game is going that late, you have so many resources and just so much good stuff that I feel like it is really possible to go super long. I mean, there's also so many good Shaman spells like that that are not there, such as Reign of Toads. Like, we just don't need things like Kragwa or Eureka to get a ton of value out of what we currently already have. I feel like this deck is pretty strong, so I'm going to, because this part 1 has been going for about 40 minutes because we ended up in a long game, I'm basically going to cut it here. We'll come back for part 2. We'll try this a little bit more. But yeah, if you're super interested in the Shaman class and you're interested in trying something different, definitely give this a deck a shot. It is pretty darn fun. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in part 2.